Welcome back to Black Girl Iowa, the podcast where we uplift stories and voices of Black men and women making an impact right here in Iowa. I'm your host, Emili, and today I'm honored to introduce to you Victoria Henderson Weber. Born and raised right here in Des Moines, Iowa, Victoria is a proud graduate of North High School, class of 2000. She went on to study at the historic Morris Brown College in Atlanta, focusing on law and legal research. She later earned her associate's degree in accounting from DeVry University in 2010, and she is currently pursuing a business degree at Iowa State University with plans to begin a Master of Science in Transportation Management at San Jose State University in 2026. Professionally, Victoria works in transportation as a caravan manager with DART, where she ensures access and mobility across the metro. Beyond her career, she is deeply invested in community service and leadership. She has served as president of the NAACP Des Moines branch since 2020, chairs the DSM Diversity Council for Four Oaks, teaches national training and development curriculum to individuals preparing to become foster parents, and serves as vice president of the Colonel Young Gun Club. When asked about the best part of growing up here in Iowa, Victoria points to the access and ability to change systems and situations in Des Moines, a reflection of the impact she continues to make through her leadership and service. So, ladies, gentlemen, and non binary friends, I'd like to welcome Victoria Henderson Weber to the show. Victoria, thank you so much for
Hello.
being here.
Absolutely. Super excited to be here.
Yes, yes. I'm really happy to have you. And what I like to do, I know I sent you a list of questions and all of the things. I always like to kind of talk also, if I can, about how I met people. And I had the pleasure of meeting Victoria and learning more about her. But I initially met her at there was a black and gold ball that one of the Alphas put on. And you were standing next to our mutual friend, Miss Danielle Mitchell. Shout out to Danielle. And I turn and the first thing you hit me with is, I'm mad at you. And at first I'm just like, oh my God, what did I do to this lady? And how can I fix it? I'm a repairer. I like to restore things. Victoria, do you want to tell people why you were mad at me?
Certainly. So I'm a person that in her old age has moved away from watching television, but I still love to be entertained, but also consume media of different sorts. And so I really transitioned into like listening to podcasts. And one of the things I have always said is that we just really, as Black women, lack any sort of representation from Iowa. And so I don't remember how or why, but I came across your podcast and I went back and I binged all the old episodes, and then I was sort of current and staying on, and then all of a sudden you disappeared and I didn't understand. And so it was really great to see a Black woman uplifting different types of Black women, right? Like you've had so many
Mhm,
different types of people on your podcast. And contrary to everybody else's belief, we are not a monolith. And so it is just
mm-mm,
great to hear everybody else's experiences.
mhm.
And you then said in one of your episodes, like, I'm taking a break, I need some rest. And I'm like, I respect that, but what what am I gonna listen to? And so I turned and I saw you and I was like, oh, I wanted to be excited. And I was like, but I'm
We're
mad about
fighting.
this.
Yeah, we're
So
fighting.
let me just be honest about it. Like
Yeah.
in love, I'm really angry with
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah.
it was we're fighting. Hi, you look gorgeous. But
Yes, your dress is
I'm mad
beautiful.
at you. And it was funny because, and like I said, like at first I was like, oh my God, like someone listens to my podcast. Like I have a fan, but I don't want to disappoint my fans.
Yeah.
But I was so tired by the end of season one. Man, when I woke up and it was like, okay, Emily, no, you don't have to do any editing. I don't have to work on social media stuff and stuff like that. Like it was really nice. But I want to give you your flowers as someone that listened and someone that championed and shared and just spoke volumes about my podcast. I really appreciate that because
Absolutely. I love it. But
yes,
also it's important to take our rest.
yeah,
So you were well deserving of it. I just
yes.
next time maybe pre-record some episodes.
You know what? Just for you, Victoria, I will. I will do that. I'll make sure that it's like a nice little lead up, and maybe I'll do like a check-in or something like that while I'm
Yeah.
off.
No,
I
you
can
did
do
a
that.
good job. You did a fantastic job. The transition, the break wasn't too long. Again, it was well deserved. So, congratulations on your first couple of seasons. It was
Thank you.
awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I after I met you, it's funny because with being from Des Moines, I feel like a lot of the times when you see a face one time, you see that face all the time. And since the Alpha ball, I've seen you quite a bit, and I've asked about you quite a bit, and so Danielle was like, well, she's president of NAACP. And then I see all of these other things that you're involved in. And one of the things that I really want to talk about and reiterate on this show is that if there's one thing a Black woman is going to do is not ask permission. And when there
Yes.
is a need in the community, we are always the ones that step up and step out. But before I talk about what you're doing now, I want to take it back to when you were younger. So, can you talk a little bit about your experience growing up here in Des Moines, and then also maybe what led you to become a champion of social justice and also of civic engagement?
Yeah, so I am a ridiculously proud East Sider. I still live in the neighborhood that I was raised in. I'm 2 blocks over from the house I grew up in. I bought my aunt's home. My grandma lived another 2 blocks away. Like we are incredibly entrenched into this neighborhood. There were so for me, like that is a huge part of like my identity and what it is that I who where I came from, but also the work that I still want to be doing. And I was fortunate to live at a time when running the or to be raised at a time when running the streets was still like semi safe to do. But I grew up with all different kinds of folks, right? Like this neighborhood was full of all different nationalities, all different economic situations, all different levels of education. And so I was exposed to a lot of where I exposed myself to just a lot of different things. And so, I have so many memories around that just define me on a regular basis, but also have then gone on to define my activism. So, one of the things that really got me civically engaged was I was a part of a youth group with Iowa, or it's now Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement. And so that youth group was called Youth Working for Positive Change. And Youth Working for Positive Change was a place where they taught us how to affect systems. The first way you have to affect the system is you have to understand how the system works. Once you can understand how the system works, then you can change anything in it. And I drunk the Kool-Aid. There was a greenhouse or a horticultural greenhouse. They grew flowers that had been in my neighborhood and had burned down like before I was born, many, many
Mm,
years ago. And it
mhm.
was still standing. But the owner of the greenhouse built another greenhouse just directly across the street. But he was a wealthy doctor who lived on the west side somewhere and, of course, didn't care about the fact that this old, dilapidated, burnt down building was in our neighborhood and that kids were playing in it. We did all the things kids do when they have opportunities to sneak into places. And, some of us got hurt in that space. And at Youth Working for Positive Change, I made my mind up, like, I want that thing out of my neighborhood.
Mhm.
And so I had to examine what the system looks like to have it removed. That looks like going to city council. That looks like advocating. That looks like all of the things. And I had a group of unusual suspects with me, a group of city kids who we just agreed to support whatever everybody else's initiatives were. And next thing you know, they're telling us like they don't have to tear it down.
Mm.
We're not going to focus on that. And we said, okay, well that can be your official answer. And our response was to fill up garbage cans with garbage that was inside the greenhouse
Mhm.
and go dump it on the yards of the people who owned it and the people who were making the decisions. So if we have to live with the garbage,
So
so
do
do
you.
you. Needless to say, there are now 4 houses with thriving families in that place.
Mhm.
They quickly tore it down because it was clear that this group of city kids were not going away and we weren't going to allow you to treat us that way. And that sort of activity has defined literally everything I've ever done since.
Mhm.
I will work with you. I will cooperate with you. I will bring it to your attention. We don't all know, like people who don't live in this neighborhood would not have known about that greenhouse. So, of course, they wouldn't have known to tear it down. But I notified you. You owed me and my neighbors a safe neighborhood. You chose not to give me one. So I responded in kind. And that's sort of how I move with everything.
Mhm.
And really, again, it changed my life and therefore the lives of also everybody around me because I don't advocate by myself. I take everybody with me.
That speaks volumes to you being at a young age, but willfully holding people accountable, holding our elected officials accountable to ensure that you as children and then the generations that were gonna come after you are living in a safe and productive environment, right?
Yes.
A lot of people they don't really kind of, like, get to that point until later in life.
Yeah.
Or because kind of like with those people, because it's not in my vicinity, why do I care? Right? Like, why do I care about something? And that piece, that accountability piece is what I see a lot in a lot of our leaders here in the Des Moines area. And that's something that I really appreciate. And so I want to dive into you being vice president of the Colonel Young Gun Club. Gun safety, gun legislation, hot topic. But with this club is unique, and I feel like what this club does is it promotes not only awareness but gun ownership, safety, and all of those great things. So, talk to me a little bit about what led you to join this group, and then for you and the role that you're currently in, how does this tie into your broader community advocacy?
This was actually part of this was one of my creations. A group of friends, fraternal friends, and I were sitting around talking about just the world as it was back in 2019 and all the things that have changed over the years. And we are people who are always inspired by those who came before us, hence the name. The gun club is named after the Colonel Charles Young, who was the first Black everything in the military here in the United States, and has a tie back to Des Moines. But you really, our conversation and why this was important to found for us was really rooted in that, like, for foundational Black Americans, the Black tradition of arms is about safety, it's about discipline, and it's about community. And that is something that is not a narrative that is shared with the broader collective. Media would have us believe that we are all illegal gun owners, that we're all shooting each other on
Mhm.
corners and all of these things. And that is just absolutely not true. What
Right.
was true for us and the other founding members of the gun club was that we needed to normalize firearm ownership for Black families again, that maybe have moved away from the tradition. It was something that was important for us culturally
Mhm.
to be able to, as you said, have safe spaces, to tie it back to civic duties, also emergency preparedness. We have taken safety as a country for granted,
Mm.
but we are all one bad day away from any part of our infrastructure failing. And at
Mhm.
that point, how do we protect ourselves? And we don't have to think about those things anymore because on a day to day basis, we're not still being lynched in the streets.
Mhm.
Not to say that it's not still happening, because clearly it is, but it's not something that is happening in front of us, and so we've just gotten really comfortable with this, like, "Oh, everything is fine, we don't have to worry about it, they'll come save us." They're not coming to save
Mm-mm.
us.
No.
And so I, really wanted to focus on, getting back to this tradition, back to back families, and again, being prepared. We don't have to go crazy with it,
Mhm.
we have to be responsible about it. Very strongly believe in the Second Amendment based on the way that our country exists today.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that can't come with restrictions and limitations and licensing
Mhm.
and requirements,
Yes.
right? Like those two things can exist simultaneously.
Mhm.
And so what does that look like for us to understand as Black people, how we go back and address that?
Mhm.
Really, one of the things that would be helpful for people if they're not familiar with the Black tradition of gun ownership is to read the book. It's called We Refuse. It's a forceful history of Black resistance by Kellie Carter Jackson. It will really help folks understand where we have come from in terms of gun ownership, but also why it is so important for us to
Mhm,
continue that legacy.
mhm.
And really, everything that we do or we say that we want needs to be supported by our ability to protect ourselves, which is ultimately what Black gun ownership is about.
What I really love about the mission of your gun club is that it is meant to educate and promote gun safety and also a way to protect ourselves. But at the same time, it's like you can believe in all those things and still believe in the Second Amendment and still also understand that there do need to be rules and regulations around gun ownership, especially in this country, especially, the United States is the only country in the world that has an epidemic when it comes to mass shootings. So I love the fact that you're bringing that awareness out. What has the community's response been to your gun club? And I know your club has put on a few different safety first trainings and really brought more awareness. What has the response from the community been to your organization?
Listen, Black women. I always say Black women, Black women, Black women. When I tell you Black women always show up. It has been beautiful to see all of the different ages of Black women who've shown up with a grandmama's gun in the bottom of their purse. Like they're carrying the gun and they don't know what to do with it. And they know that ultimately, like, that's not okay.
Hmm.
As mothers, grandmothers, aunties, all of the things, carrying a gun in the bottom of our purse is incredibly unsafe.
Hmm.
What happens when somebody's going after the strawberry candy or a mints and they accidentally pull a trigger because you didn't understand how that gun was properly loaded?
Hmm.
And I think, we all recognize the need for safety and understanding. How dare you think it is okay to own a gun and you don't know everything about that gun and how to protect yourself, everybody around you, but especially your family members. And so there's been a lot of like personal reflection from the community, like, hey, we just want to know more. And also some recognition, like, I'm not ready to carry this yet. I didn't
Hmm.
understand what I was really doing. I didn't understand that, I really shouldn't have this. And so I'm
Hmm.
gonna put it away until I'm better trained. And so it has been really good. Black men also show up. The president of the gun club, Corey Royster, is an amazing advocate for Black men and responsible gun ownership. And very thankful for him, but by and large, it has been Black women that have shown
Hmm.
up to do the work, but everybody is very receptive, but they're also a little surprised,
Hmm.
again, because the idea that Black people, like, I think we own guns in secret.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's grandma or daddy or somebody was in the
Somebody got a
military and they have
shotgun in the
guns,
house somewhere.
but they don't know how to use it. They don't know where the bullets are, right? In ideas, okay, in theory, I could protect myself, but no, you couldn't. And so there's just been a mix of surprise, but a great outpouring of support.
I know my dad has his great grandfather's shotgun. I've seen it once. I have seen it once. I'm pretty sure I know exactly where it is. I know the bullets aren't in it, but then again, I don't even know if it has a safety because it is
It
old.
doesn't. It's old. It
It
doesn't.
is old.
It
And
doesn't.
I've and I'll
Yeah.
and it's and again it's kind of funny too. And I would definitely want to talk about the NAACP, but I think it's really interesting that to know that with how our lives are seen in society, that gun ownership is the space where we need more education in how to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because I know Danielle has asked me to come to your club and in your meeting multiple times. And I'm just like, oh, girl, no, I don't.
Come
No, I'm
on.
okay. I'm all right. But then again, it's like, wait, I live by myself.
Listen,
Maybe,
that's
maybe I need to go ahead and do something about that.
That's real. I mean, I in the dark every day.
Yeah.
I have 2 children and I'm often home alone with them. I travel on the road by myself and we all
Mm,
just like get in the car and
yeah.
go. Really? Like in the world in the way that it is today,
Hmm.
we have to consider how we do that. And maybe the answer isn't guns, but I always encourage you to come and see if a gun is an answer for you.
Hmm.
What you find in really the Colonel Young Gun Club is part of the larger, it's called NAGA, NAAGA. It's part of a larger national gun club.
Hmm.
And what you would find is a lot of people, they just know how to use their guns and maybe they have them, but maybe it's a knife that you become proficient with to protect yourself.
Mm,
Maybe you need to understand what it looks like just to be in community with somebody who does have guns.
mhm,
If something were to happen in the world, where do you go to stay safe? Okay, well, my daddy got a shotgun, I'm going home. Right?
mhm.
Like, you don't what about those of us that don't have dads with shotguns?
Right.
Who else could protect you in the worst case scenarios? Like, what does any of that look like? And so NAGA and the Corona Young Gun Club really do a great job of showing you all of those things, helping you figure out if gun ownership is really for you.
Mhm.
But then also, even if gun ownership isn't for you, what happens if you're out for a walk one day and you find a loaded gun in the street? What are you gonna do?
What do you do? Yeah.
Are you just gonna leave it there? You should at least be aware of how these things work. Is this safe? Do you want a kid to come behind you and find it? Do you wanna pick it up and move it? Do you wanna call the cops? What does that look like for you? You shouldn't see a gun and instantly burst into tears because you don't know
Mhm.
what to do.
Mhm.
That is more dangerous than anything.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to come. A lot of the gun ranges have like date nights on Friday. So there's discounts for like two people to go together.
Mhm.
Happy to invite you. I would be more than happy to take you with me. Would let you shoot my everyday carry gun.
Mhm.
You could say, this is for me. This is not for me. A lot of people say, whoa, no, this is not for me. Because it's a lot of responsibility. There is a
It
lot of
is.
responsibility in that 3 to 4 pounds of a weapon.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I highly encourage that everybody at least check it out.
I think your gun club is fantastic because again it offers up training and education on another level of protection that we should have for us. And I feel like having it on that side is important, but also the level of protection and understanding that with the work you're doing with the NAACP, I think that's another one because now it's like where can we move? How can we shift the narrative within our communities? How can we affect legislation and all of those things? Because ultimately it's all in an effort to protect and preserve ourselves in our community. As you guys all know, the National Association of the Advancement of Color People, founded in 1909, is all over the country, and Victoria is the president of our Des Moines branch. So you've been president now since 2020. Can you talk a little bit about where your involvement started and how, I mean, to become president in 2020 was a historic year for so many reasons, but I feel like that was a catalyst year. So do you want to talk about your experience in that organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started with the NAACP. I have a very good friend who grew up in the youth and college division of the NAACP, and we were young adults in our late teens, maybe at the time. But the best people to be able to help younger people are young people. And it was like, hey, our youth and college division could use some support, just more mentors, more advisors. Would you be willing to come and just hang out with us? You have a history of advocacy. You have done this work. Would you come talk to the kids? And so it really just started that way. And then the next conversation was, hey, our advisor is moving to Missouri. Will you take over? Sure, I'll take over. Kids need to understand how to advocate for themselves. They need to
Mhm,
understand civil rights and all of the things. So I did. I worked with the youth and college division 8, 10 years maybe. And the NAACP has a really unique structure in that the youth and college division chapters or units have the same weight and standing as the adult branch. We
hmm,
are the only national organization that has youth board members who
mhm,
have just as much say as adult board members. And so to do that, the young folks have to work with the adult branches. And so even though I was there for years working with the kids, that also meant that I then had to work with the adults. I had to teach them how to advocate for themselves inside the organization, how to ensure that the adults supported them the way that they needed to. And so I got to know everybody in the adult unit that way. My good friend Cameron Middlebrooks, who
mhm.
also came out of the youth and college division, had taken over as the branch president a few years before I did. But Cameron was like, hey, I need a secretary. And he knew me from some other fraternal organizations that we were in. And he was like, can you support me? You could still do youth in college and be the branch secretary. So I started there. I served as his secretary. And then it came time for Cameron to take some other opportunities. And everybody sort of looked around like, I'm not it. And I'm standing there like, I guess. And I'm really thankful they saw something in me that, maybe sometimes I didn't see in myself.
Mhm.
And I think part of what they saw was that I was a nice bridge between the generations. I have the old school training and the respect for our elders,
Mhm.
but I also have a youthful, technology based sort of understanding of how the world operates today. And I can merge those two things together. I can help the elders understand what they need to about the young folks, and I can make sure that the young folks have the knowledge that they need from our elders. And so I was actually elected in the end of 2019, started my presidency in 2020, super excited, ready to go. And then March comes and COVID knocked us off our tails, right?
Mhm.
And I'm very thankful for the recognition that we probably as a unit would not have survived had I not been the president at the time. My
Mm.
ability to translate technology to varying levels of folks allowed us to be able to move virtually very quickly. So we didn't have any downtime. We were able to keep going with our advocacy work. And then I was able to figure out, like, what does advocacy look like on the internet? Like,
Yeah.
and not like we're yelling and screaming at people, because that is not effective, right? What is strategizing and holding meetings and researching and doing all of the components look like in a virtual world? And I wasn't prepared for it either, but I was able to figure it out. And so that really was my start. And I think for me, as somebody who absolutely loves history, history is like my second favorite thing on earth. It was really important. The Des Moines branch is the oldest branch west of the Mississippi.
Mhm.
We were planted here intentionally to spread branches west. All of the branches west of us were largely started by our branch. We were started in 1915 as an effort from our national office. And the idea that the Des Moines branch of all the branches
Mhm.
would die wasn't I just couldn't let that rest.
Mhm.
And so that doesn't mean we didn't take a hit. All volunteerism, and be clear to everybody who doesn't know, the NAACP is a volunteer-based organization. We are
Yep.
not paid. We are not
Mhm.
wealthy. We do not have big cushy offices. That is not
Mhm.
who we are. And so, volunteerism across the board has taken a hit and has never fully recovered,
Mhm.
but we survived it and we're
Mhm.
still going.
That's incredibly important for a lot of people to understand. When we look at organizations like yours, when we look at, even I'm a member of the Tawati Federated Women's Club, nobody is paid to do any of this. A lot of advocacy work is done on people's personal time. They're not
Yes.
getting paid for it. They
Yes.
have a genuine want to see the betterment of their community.
That's it.
And it's not the betterment of just one specific part of it's everyone. Everyone that is in that realm. They want everyone to be successful, and they want everyone to
Yes.
be living better, feeling better, having better access to healthcare, to transportation, to education, and all of those things. And it frustrating in the world that we live in now, where social commentary is held as truth over fact,
Yes.
and it is very, and a lot of stuff is internalized in the wrong way. And so to see people like yourself out there actively doing it, like, even before we sat down for this conversation, you guys, like, I had just got home. Victoria had just got home too, because she was at another event, promoting advocacy for another one of our mutuals that had an event going on. We see all of these things happening all at once. So you spoke, though, about you being involved in the NAACP, the Colonel Young Gun Club, and then you also have a leadership role with teaching curriculum for those that want to become foster parents. So you have a lot of leadership roles. You're also your wife, you're a mother, you have a lot of titles, especially in leadership. So I want to get back to, though, one of the challenges that you spoke on, which is volunteerism. As we move forward, why is it going to be important for people to start volunteering more as we start moving those systems toward equity?
So, also, I want to be clear that if you do your volunteerism right, while it should never be the goal, there are potential financial benefits for people. A lot of people that I know that have started as advocates and community volunteers have found a passion out of that they have been able to turn into a business that further uplifts their advocacy. That doesn't mean they stop volunteering, that doesn't mean they get rich, but it looks like a range of things. But ultimately, If you want something to change, you have to be the person who goes and changes it. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world, point blank, period. And that means you might have to do that work for free. And frankly, you should be willing to do it for free because you're probably not willing to have your taxes raised for other people to come do it for you. And that's like the great thing. Or the great debate, I guess. Everybody wants everybody to come do something for them. But who is paying those people? You would want to be paid if you're doing the work, is what you're saying. If I'm going to do the work, I want to be paid. Well, who's going to pay you when you yourself don't want your taxes raised? I don't want my taxes raised. And so that looks like for us to be civically engaged in our communities, volunteerism has to happen. And also, who knows what needs to be done on your block better than you?
Mhm.
Like, I know when I go outside if my block is dirty. I know if I can walk down the street with a garbage bag and I know or I know that this is a bigger issue and I need city support, but also I'm paying into the city and the city should do a certain level of work. And so it winds up just being one of those things that in a world where we are not wanting our property taxes to be raised, but everything is costing more. In a world where there are currently people in charge who don't give a damn about us, if you want change to happen, you have to figure out what that looks like for you to be a part of it.
Mhm.
There are those of us that have made volunteerism a way of life. Everybody doesn't have to do that, but what one little thing can you do, that can make an impact? If all of us just did one little thing,
Mhm.
everything would get tremendously better, and you don't have to mirror what somebody else is doing, what your homegirl is doing. Like, what is it that you care about?
Mhm.
Take 5 minutes, assess the thing that you care about, and go out and do it, because chances are nobody else cares about it, or if they care about it, they don't know what to do about it either. So, somebody has to start somewhere, and the best way to do that looks like volunteer work. You mentioned Tawasi Club. One of the early leaders of the Tawasi Club and also the national organization was Sue Brown.
Mhm.
Sue Brown is my personal hometown hero.
Mhm.
This was a Black woman with no education, a generation outside of slavery, who changed this city in ways that people will never know.
Yeah.
She's got a little bitty headstone in Glendale. Most people don't even remember that she existed, but
Mhm.
she literally paved a way for every citizen in this community because she chose to volunteer.
Mhm.
She made sure that people were educated. She made sure that people had civil rights. She made sure that people could vote. You name it, she knew that it needed to be done. And because nobody else was doing it, she had to do it.
Mhm.
And so, I really just recommend that people explore what they're passionate about and think of people like Sue Brown and the amazing work that she did, and they find a niche for themselves and they go out and get it done.
You had hit the nail on the head with understanding where we come from and knowing who those trailblazers are and letting that work help formulate our passion to move forward. And with the volunteer work, I don't necessarily hear it all the time, but a lot of the times, even when it comes down to me doing volunteer work, it's always like I could be doing something else. And then it's always, but then at the same time, I'm like, well, what else are you really going to do, Emily? Just sit on the couch and watch TV all day? You could probably spare a few hours and get up and go
Yeah.
volunteer your time.
And also make it fun. Bring your
Yes.
homegirls with you, right?
Yes.
Like, again, I don't do any of this work alone.
Mhm.
I stand side by side or in the back because I believe leading best happens from the back of the room. But I stand by side with some great comrades, some real unusual suspects, and people who have become some of the best friends I've ever had because we had things in common that we cared about. We are not the same sort of people. We do not hang out on a regular basis. But when I know that I'm going to go do this community work, I'm going to have a good time while I'm there with some people that I have, really built relationship with.
Mhm.
And so, okay, I don't need to watch TV. I can get up, grab my kids because they all have kids too, right? Grab my kids and get out in the streets and do something that means something for somebody else.
Absolutely. And really, I mean, what are we really gonna miss on TV? Everything is on
Listen,
demand now.
everything
You
is on
stop.
demand. You can get back to it. That's it.
You can get back
That's
to
it.
it. Stop
Yep.
playing around because I even come in that, "Oh, well, I wanna watch this." Girl, you can watch the replay
Yes.
tomorrow on Hulu. Go
Yep.
outside.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely, definitely. So, before I get to, question, one thing I am doing on this series is kind of just getting a little bit more in depth into my guests. And so I have a lightning round of questions where I will pose one or the other, and then you get to choose. Some of these might have a story attached to them, some may not. So we'll go ahead and get started. Are you ready? All right. So, first one, coffee or tea? Okay.
specifically from Red Dragon called Flower Power.
Okay. Is that something you can get that here in town?
You can get it locally. The Slowdown in Highland
Okay.
Park
Mm,
currently has it as part of their like summer menu.
okay.
And Red Dragon is an Iowa-owned tea company.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep,
Awesome. I will have to put that in the show notes for everyone.
yep, it's
Are
awesome.
you an early bird or a night owl?
This is very interesting for me. Historically, and up to about 67 days ago, I would have told you I was a night owl, but I am now an early morning person. I get up every day at like 4:50, and I'm out the door walking at 5 a.m.
Okay. All right. Favorite place to eat in Des Moines?
My kitchen.
Okay. Love it. So, and here I was thinking is I thought you might be going for one of the staples like a Tasty Tacos, Ted Coney Island, nothing like that. Nope, she said my house.
My
Okay.
my house. When your grandma is from Arkansas,
Mm,
Little Rock specifically, you are raised knowing how to cook,
okay.
and can't nobody do it like I can.
Awesome. Awesome. One word friends use to describe you.
Disruptor.
I can see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
A book that has made the biggest impact on your life.
That is a hard one. I don't think I have, like, a biggest impact on my life. I think the one that comes to mind, like, most recently that has been really profound for me with a lot of the transition that I'm personally going through right now is a book that's called On Brand. It's by Licht Eliza Licht. Really just framing how your personal brand matters in
Hmm.
all of the things that you do.
Okay. Dream vacation spot.
Girl, what is a vacation?
Listen, don't ask me. A vacation for me is Kansas City at this point.
That is my, like, go away spot. Like, if I can get away for a day, like, Kansas
Yeah.
City is it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, I don't really like, vacation isn't a thing to me. Family is really important to me and also some of the traditional places that I love. And so, like, most of my family that is important to me at this point either lives in Omaha or Texas, and so I try to get down there to see them, and then one of my favorite cities to visit is New Orleans, and I try really hard to get to New Orleans once a year,
Hmm.
but that is about as much vacation as I get.
Okay. Favorite way to relax after a long day?
I'm boring, let me go to sleep.
Man, go lay down is is an African American proverb to me,
Yes,
and I say that to myself every day I get home. Go lay down.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's on your playlist that always gets you pumped up?
It depends on what I need to be pumped up for, but I went to school in Atlanta in the 90s and 2000s, and so there is nothing better than just I would call it 99s and
Mhm.
specifically, like, Southern rap music. To be in that place at that time was legendary, and
Mhm.
all of those songs, like, mean the world to me,
Mhm.
but other than that, also, I am really a product of 90s neo soul music, and that will really get me in a good vibe to get work done.
Okay. Awesome. Who inspires you most in your leadership journey?
No question, my children.
And with everything that you've accomplished, what is the most transformative experience you've had in leadership?
Do not believe typically in centering myself in things. I have done a lot of really good work over the years with lots of different people that I really hope has changed and transformed their lives. But I will take a moment and say that in leadership, the thing that has changed the most or been the most transformative is what that work has done for me. Every time I take on a new project, I don't become a new person, but I understand the world in just such a different way. And I am not the Victoria from, 20 some odd years ago who was really moving from having a good time to wanting to do community work again. I am such a different person. And I think that that is the amazing piece of leadership and community work and civic engagement is not how you change the world, but how the world can change you. And I am definitely changed by all of it.
That's wonderful. Well, Victoria, thank you so much for being on the show today. Before I let you go and before we wrap up the episode, how can people get involved with the organizations that you're in? So I want to roll out the red carpet, let people know where they can find you on social to get involved. And I will be sure to have everything in the show notes. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell you the 2 easiest ways to get access to me really are to attend an NAACP meeting or to attend a gun club meeting. So the NAACP meets on the 4th Tuesday of every month at the Mickles Center, but also we have a virtual option. So if you can't attend in person, highly encourage you to at least Zoom in. And you can reach us to get more information about either location or the Zoom link by emailing secretary@naacpdesmoines.org. Or the gun club meets the third Sunday of every month out at Crossroads Shooting Range in Johnston. We usually have a sort of sit down class aspect, and then we actually go out on the range and shoot. So you can come out and learn and never go shoot, or you can just skip class and come shoot if you'd like. But I would highly recommend that folks come and check us out in either of those options. Email the secretary if you want me specifically, and I'll respond back. I am happy to connect with anybody about anything at any time. Happy to help you understand how systems work or how you can find your way into a passionate way to change the world around you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, again, Victoria, thank you so much for joining me on Black Girl Iowa. Your story is a true example of how one person's dedication can ripple across an entire community, whether it's through transportation, education, or civic leadership, from the NAACP to teaching future foster parents. You continue to show us what it looks like to step into spaces of change and create opportunities for others. For my listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Don't forget, you can subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and YouTube so you'll never miss an episode. You can also shop exclusive podcast merch and my journaling kits on Etsy at Black Girl Iowa Shop. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Black Girl Iowa for updates. So until next time, keep rising, keep reflecting, and keep being unapologetically you. We'll see you on the next one.